Hello everyone, and welcome to Earth Archives. Lately I've been thinking about a question. Do you think it's really possible to heal from our own trauma? Is it truly possible to let go completely and feel free again? Before we start, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with anyone you think might need to see it.
That's a great question. Many people think trauma is something you just have to forget, like a stain in life that must be wiped away to move on. But the psychology master Carl Jung tells us it's not that simple, and it's not that easy.
I always hear advice like, let it go, forget it, move forward, but every time I try to forget, the pain seems even stronger, and it keeps resurfacing over and over.
I completely understand, and that feeling is normal. Jung says trauma doesn't just disappear over time. It doesn't vanish on its own. Instead, it fractures and hides in your subconscious, like a silent virus slowly seeping into your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, sometimes taking over your mind without you even realizing it.
Oh no, so does that mean I'm always going to be controlled by it?
No. The key is you can't just avoid or suppress trauma. Jung believed that this constant effort to forget is not only ineffective, but it actually strengthens the trauma. Unprocessed trauma forms an independent core of psychological energy. It has its own desires, its own reactions, and when triggered, you feel inexplicable pain, completely beyond rational control.
An independent core? That sounds mysterious.
Yes, Jung called it an autonomous complex. Simply put, it's a small psychological world formed by the trauma, almost like a little life with its own will. It reactivates old pain cyclically, draws you back into similar situations, and unconsciously makes you reenact past wounds. For example, if you've been neglected, your subconscious might lead you repeatedly to meet similar people or situations, not because you're unlucky, but because your psyche is trying to resolve an unfinished story.
Wow, that sounds kind of scary. So does this mean my identity is bound by my trauma?
Exactly. Many people unconsciously tie their trauma to their sense of self. I am the one who was abandoned, or I am the fragile one. This is what Jung called victim identity. We fear truly facing our trauma because it means letting go of a familiar self, painful, but somehow safe.
Oh, so my resistance to healing isn't because I like the pain, but because I'm afraid of losing myself.
Yes. In a way, the pain becomes part of your identity. It's familiar. Letting go feels like losing a part of yourself. That's why simply trying to move forward without confronting trauma doesn't work.
So how can I actually heal? I really want to know if there's a way to not be trapped by the pain.
Jung proposed a revolutionary path, not avoidance, not suppression, but deep engagement. Facing, understanding, reclaiming, and integrating your trauma. In other words, you bring conscious awareness to the trauma, bring the parts hidden in darkness into light, and transform the suffering into a part of your life, rather than letting it control you.
It sounds really difficult.
It is, but the healing process can be broken down into 3 core stages. The first stage is consciously facing the trauma. This isn't about rational analysis or detached observation. It's about fully engaging with the experiences that were torn apart, with your emotions intact.
Like shaking hands with the pain again?
Exactly. Facing trauma isn't about reenacting it. It's about meeting it anew. This is the turning point where the self moves from avoidance toward integration. In this moment, you begin to see yourself clearly, no longer ruled by automatic reactions.
I feel like I've never truly faced my own wounds. I've always avoided touching them.
Exactly. Jung said repression is the greatest enemy of psychological growth. What you avoid will return even stronger and more destructive. So facing your trauma is the first step toward integration.
What's the second stage?
The second stage is retrieving the lost parts of yourself. Trauma doesn't just take away your sense of safety. It steals fragments of your soul, perhaps your childlike innocence, courage, trust, capacity to love, and creativity. In this stage, you act like a psychological archaeologist, uncovering and reviving those hidden, fragmented parts, allowing them to live again, trust again, desire again, create again, re-injecting frozen vitality into yourself.
It sounds like I'm picking up the pieces of myself that I once lost.
Exactly. This is deep, profound healing. The third stage is symbolic integration, the most subtle and refined step. Integration isn't about beautifying the trauma or justifying the pain. It's about finding its symbolic meaning. You transform past suffering into a doorway for consciousness expansion, turning pain into power rather than letting it control you.
So real healing isn't about forgetting, but learning to make the trauma a story, not your identity?
Precisely. You'll see the scars remain, but they no longer bleed or dominate your reactions. They become part of your life. You still remember the pain, but you can freely choose how to respond to life.
So, I can redefine myself, instead of being kidnapped by the past.
Exactly. Healing isn't about returning to your old self. It's about becoming a person you couldn't have been without experiencing that pain. Scars are marks of evolution. They're proof of your psychological maturity.
It feels like I can see a possibility of freedom. It hurts, but I'm no longer enslaved by it.
Exactly. Everyone can find light within their own story. Trauma doesn't disappear, but it no longer controls you. You can live as your complete self, embody true compassion, and understand the meaning of moving forward.
So, how do I begin this journey?
Start by facing it. The first step is allowing yourself to see the trauma, not avoid it. Next, reclaim the parts of yourself that trauma stole. Finally, transform the pain into the power of symbolic integration. The process may repeat, but each time you return to the pain, you will emerge clearer and freer than before.
Wow, this really feels like psychological magic.
You could call it that, but it's not a magic potion. It requires courage and continuous, mindful practice. Only when you stop avoiding yourself can you truly start living as a whole person. The scars remain, but they no longer bleed. They shine.
So if I'm willing to start from here, is that already the first step toward healing?
Absolutely. Healing isn't a destination, it's a journey. Anyone willing to face their trauma becomes more whole, authentic, and profound in the process.
How can I tell if I'm actually making progress?
It's subtle. You'll start noticing small changes, more patience with yourself, less swept away by emotional fluctuations, and even toward past people, events, and pain. You'll feel understanding and compassion instead of anger or avoidance.
This feels much deeper than the way I originally imagined healing.
Exactly. It's a process of psychological integration, not a superficial happiness fix. You'll see that the trauma may still exist, but it no longer rules you. You become the master of yourself.
I have a question. If someone keeps avoiding it, will they never really heal?
Almost. Jung said unintegrated trauma keeps replaying like an old movie on loop. Each replay deepens the pain instead of bringing healing. Only by facing it, reclaiming yourself, and giving it meaning can it truly transform.
So what I need isn't just courage, but also awareness and a method, right?
Exactly. Courage gets you started. Awareness keeps you going. And method helps transform the pain into strength. Every time you choose to face it, it's a rebirth of yourself.
Are there simple ways to start this process?
Yes. Start with a small daily practice of self-awareness. Ask yourself, what emotion have I been avoiding today, or what story lies behind this emotion? Gradually, bring those suppressed or ignored parts into consciousness. That's how you begin the first stage, facing your trauma.
It sounds simple, but I'm sure it must feel really uncomfortable.
Exactly. Discomfort is normal. It shows you're touching long-neglected psychological energy. Jung said psychological integration is never a comfortable process, but it brings profound freedom.
Then the second stage, retrieving the lost parts. How do I do that?
Think of it like psychological archaeology. You locate the parts of yourself fractured by trauma, whether it's the ignored child, suppressed innocence, or courage locked away by fear. Through writing, memory, or imagination, you call them back and let them live again. Every time you bring back a part, you become a little more whole.
It feels like I'm slowly picking myself back up.
Exactly. This is the most moving part of healing. You'll realize that the things trauma took from you aren't gone forever. They've just been waiting for you to reclaim them.
Then the third stage, symbolic integration, is the hardest step, right?
Yes, and also the most subtle. It's not about glorifying trauma, but finding its meaning, turning pain into strength, using trauma as a doorway to expand consciousness. When you do this, you're no longer just a victim. You become a whole, wise person.
It sounds like giving new meaning to the past.
Exactly. You'll begin to see that every scar has symbolic significance. They tell you that you fell to the bottom, but you stood back up. This wisdom isn't theoretical. It's a bodily, remembered strength, a perspective gained from surviving the unbearable.
Will I feel lonely on this journey?
Psychological integration does take courage, but you're not truly alone. The key is your willingness to bring yourself back from trauma and build a relationship with yourself. Gradually, you'll find you can live in a completely new way.
Wow, after hearing all this, I feel like I can see my future self. There's still pain, but I'm no longer bound by it.
Exactly. Anyone willing to face their trauma can move toward freedom. Pain is no longer the center of your identity. It becomes your strength. You can choose how to respond to life and how to live in the present.
So if I'm willing to start from here, is that already the first step toward healing?
Absolutely. Healing isn't a destination, it's a journey. Anyone willing to confront their trauma becomes more complete, authentic, and profound along the way.
And what about our viewers? What can they do?
They can start with small daily awareness practices, record emotions, thoughts, and bodily reactions, and try to understand the story behind each response. Gradually, you reconnect with yourself. Don't fear the pain or the darkness. Every time you face it, it's a rebirth.
Thank you, I think I understand now. Healing isn't disappearance, it's transformation. It's about becoming whole, not perfect.
Exactly. The scars don't disappear, but they no longer control you. They shine, reminding you that you fell and stood up again.
If you're on this journey too, and you see your own shadow or feel some inner calling that hasn't been acknowledged, feel free to share your story in the comments. Tell us, which trauma do you most want to face?
And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video, so more people understand that true healing isn't forgetting, it's integration. Finding strength from pain and living consciously. Every time you face it, it's a rebirth. Every scar is a symbol of strength.